Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's exclusive live webinar by Ability. I am Kimberly, your host for today. I hope you all are doing very well and are excited to learn from today's session. Today's session is on addressing academic and behavioral challenges in your classrooms by Mrs. Smita Tripathi. If you're new to Ability, let me tell you a little bit about us. Our mission is to give every child an opportunity to thrive, and all carers of children with special needs are at the center of our universe. We make resources more accessible and affordable and effective for everyone through technology and collaboration with other carers like you. With your support, we now have a community of over 150,000 special educators, therapists, teachers, and parents from over 80 countries. And we also have a large social media presence, 16,000 page followers on Facebook, over 3,000 followers on Instagram, and members on our WhatsApp groups, and over 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. We are so grateful for all of your support, and we hope to continue to working with you towards our goal of empowering children with special needs. You can support us by sharing or creating resources on our page to help children with special needs achieve better outcomes. And you can also participate in our certificate course in collaboration with the Singapore University of Social Sciences. I will be telling you about this certificate course in more detail at the end of the session. Now, about our speaker, Mrs. Smita Tripathi, who will be taking our session today. Mrs. Smita is a special education consultant with over 20 years of rich experience in skill development and parent teacher training programs in mainstream schools as well as therapy centers. Through her training and coaching practices, she works closely with parents, school administrators, and teachers to help children with various academic and behavioral challenges to thrive. And now, before we get started, let us do a quick energizer so that we're ready to learn. The first question I want to ask you is, what is 104 minus 89? Let me know your responses in the chat box. What is 104 minus 89? Can I see your responses in the chat box? I can see 15, I can see 25. A lot of you are saying 15. Come on, everyone. Let me see your responses in the chat box. 15, 15, 15. And yes, 15 is the right answer. 104 minus 89 is equal to 15. I have another question for you, which is, what is 26 plus 68? Let me see your responses for this in the chat box. What is 26 plus 68? 94, I can see 94. 42, okay? A lot of 94s. All of you are so good at math. That's awesome. 94 is indeed the correct answer. Thank you all for participating with so much energy in the chat box. And now I would like to invite our speaker, Mrs. Smita, to kindly take the session forward. A happy learning to all participants.
Yes, thank you, Kimberly. Thanks for the warm introduction. Good evening, dear participants. It's amazing to see you all, showing your presence with us here today through your interaction in the chat box. Continue to be that lovely audience. We are here today to understand an important topic, which is how can we, as educators, care providers, people who have children, who deal closely with them, handle academic and behavioral challenges. In this topic today, participants, we will see what are some of the common challenges that children face. We need to be aware of them. With that, we shall also see how can we know a lot more about this, skill ourselves so that we can provide a structured support, a researched, a support that could actually help these children in academic and behavior challenges. And also not do it alone. Learn how can we seek support from important stakeholders, people who can contribute towards this. So let's begin and understand what are some of the challenges that children face day to day in classroom, otherwise when it comes to academic and their behavior. Let's begin by understanding the size of the problem. We all are here from different parts of the country. Let's understand when it comes to children in classrooms across the globe, how many of them actually have academic or behavioral concerns. I have data from global organizations here. Let me share some here with you all today. Now, as per data that's collected from global organizations, like I said, 70% of 10-year-old in middle and low income countries are unable to understand a simple written text. Now, pandemic has also added to these numbers. It did prevent a lot of students from maybe learning the grade appropriate skills. Now we have seeing a rise by one third in such cases. A lot of children have been added to the list of academic and behavioral challenges that they are showing. Also, the condition wasn't that great before pandemic. 10 million children, 15-year-old students from 79 high and middle income countries were not able to complete even the most basic reading tasks. This does highlight that the condition was, in a way, anyways. We were seeing that slowly and steadily the numbers were increasing. Let me highlight another important data here. When we talk about the young people, 67% of young people across the globe do not have basic skills. We are talking about reading, writing. We are talking about the basic behavior that's expected from them. The percentage ranges different when it comes to different region. For example, in North America, it's 24%. In South Asia, it's 89%. And when we look at sub-Saharan Africa, the percentage is as high as 94. This is real. We are seeing good number of children having such challenges. Let's talk about mental health. Now, it's estimated that more than 13% of teenagers, adolescent children globally have some mental health condition. Now, out of these 13%, specifically 40% of them, say half of this percentage, children have problems with anxiety. They feel sad. Basically, they have anxiety or depression. Now, this is the state of mental health of children. As educators, caregivers, care providers, we must worry about the causes. What is it? What are some of the reasons which are adding to this rise in numbers? Let's understand some of them today. It's important to consider, remember that students that we have in classrooms, students that we have around us, come from diverse economic backgrounds and varied life contexts. Let's understand some of them here right now. Say a group of children in classroom who aren't, doing well, who have either academic or behavior challenges. Now, these can be because of the children coming as the first generation learners. These are those students who no one in their family has ever been to school before. They're coming to the school for the very first time. They have, no exposure back home. Also, it is possible that some of them have critical social conditions back home, financial challenges. Now, they need your support, not just in academics, but also guidance throughout. That is the reason for their poor academic or behavior that they are showing. Now, let's look at another set of children who aren't doing well. Now, these children can possibly have health issues, say physical or mental health challenges. Now, good amount of time back home of the family of the child is going in managing this. They don't have time, or the focus is not academics. Of course, then the academic doesn't come, they don't show those challenges or those skills that well. Now, let's look at another section of the classroom, say. Now, here it is possible that these children have genuinely some underlying conditions. Maybe they are not reaching the milestones, age appropriate milestones that they should on time. They are lagging behind compared to their classmates, their children of their age. So they have developmental delay. It is also possible that these children have conditions like learning disorder, ADHD, that stops them from gaining these skills, learning important skills when it comes to academic or behavior. So we also know that due to pandemic, a lot of children have regressed. Why? It's because they anyways maybe were on performing on an average side. So they were somehow managing the skills that they had to learn, maybe trying them out. But during pandemic, because they did not get that amount of exposure, practice, stimulation, what we see is that they also now are added to the category of children who aren't doing well in academics or showing some kind of behavior challenges. Dear participants, there are many more reasons why a student struggles. So, the first thing that we as care providers or teachers need to do is that analyze what can be some of the reason because of which the child is showing academic or behavior concerns. Now that we know what can be some of the reasons, let's focus on understanding what and how can it show up in the classroom, right? It is important to know what are some of the signs of the academic challenges and behavioral challenges. So when we say a child has difficulty, it can show in various forms. A child can have reading related concerns. A child can have poor writing skills, the math abilities, or playing with numbers, knowing numbers can get difficult. The child may have attention related challenges, and of course it manifests into behavioral concerns also. So let's know a little more about that. I want to see you participants telling each other, telling me what are some of the ways in which you have come across reading challenges in your classrooms, in students around you. Can you highlight some of the symptoms that you have seen? In what ways do children show they have problems in decoding? Yes, when they are expected to read or while they are reading, what are some of the challenges? Comprehension comes across as a problem. The distracted punctuations, blending of words together, knowing the sounds, alphabet reversals, vocab comes across as a concern, reading mirror images, omissions, repetitions, yes, blending, stammering, spellings, fluency when they read, the pace at which they are reading, the focus while they are reading, pronunciation of words, stammering, spelling, disinterested. Of course, if they have reading concerns, they are not interested. They show distractions, vocabulary issues, a lot of ways in which you could see reading challenges in the classroom. Thank you so much for highlighting all these challenges here. All of you rightly pointed out towards some or the other way in which the reading challenges show in the classroom. Yes, letters, words, pronunciation, spellings, the pace at that they are reading, skipping words. These are some of the ways in which you can identify reading concerns. Now, let's think about writing. When it comes to writing, how do you see them struggling? What are some of their challenges? Can we also talk about that? Yes, mirror images, they write. Spelling errors. Copying is a concern. Handwriting, reversals, formation of letters, the way they manipulate while writing, pencil grip, mirror images, grammar, syntax, sentence structure, unable to copy. While they are writing, they don't know how to frame sentences. Reverse letters, spelling errors, vocabulary. They may be writing too fast, too slow, not able to write on the page, alignment, space adjustments, reversals. reversals of P and 9, B and D. Yes, even thinking of what to write, putting thoughts on paper, the way they frame their paragraphs, the way they frame their answers, using the appropriate words, handwriting. Thank you so much. You all have beautifully highlighted all those writing challenges that can be seen in the classroom. Now, let's talk about math challenges. What are some of the common math related concerns that we see? How does it look like in the classroom? Yes, tables, they're not able to retain that. Mirror images, even when it comes to numbers, understanding math related concepts, basic counting, identification of number, tables, calculations, difficulty with math operations, vocabulary, math related words, understanding terms, concepts, visualizing math concepts. Yes, story sums, simple calculations is also not correct. Place values, they are in a hurry to complete, they do make silly mistakes. Beautifully highlighted. Thank you so much, dear participants. Yes, these are some of the challenges it is to do with math. Now, let's be mindful here. Every time you educators, you caregivers come across children with any kind of challenge, it's important to go and understand what can be the reason. For example, say you have three children showing reading challenge in the classroom. Now, when you scan through their profile, you make your observations, you can see that maybe the first child here isn't doing well when it comes to reading because the child could not develop important reading related skills because of pandemic. Maybe earlier the child was okay. During pandemic, the learning did not happen. Now the child has regressed. So the child is maybe one level below the grade that the child is in. Now the next child here who also has reading concern. Okay, when you scan through and observe, you might realize that this child has a family member who's unwell. So the child missed school because of the child being absent. The child did not develop those important concepts while you were teaching in the class. But the third child here genuinely has a reading problem. The child has dyslexia, because of which the child has a lot of challenges. So see how similar problem. Everybody has reading related concern, but the reasons are pretty different. It's important to be mindful about that. Also, when we talk about attention and behavior, now what we need to remember again here is that sometimes because a child has academic concerns, we see that the outcome of this is behavioral problems. It's also the other way. Sometimes a child may have behavioral concerns, because of which the child gets into academic challenges. So it's important to know, is the child having academic and behavior problems both? What is leading to what? Or are they independent in nature? So this identification, this, being mindful about this is important. Now, let's invest a little time in understanding what are attention related concerns in the classrooms. It's important as teachers to know that attention also can be seen in different ways. Easily distracted. Thank you so much for highlighting that. Yes. So, focus isn't there. They get distracted very easily. Okay, they need assistant. They need hand holding. No eye contact. Yes, they cannot focus for long. They cannot, the gestures, okay, attention span, concentration, lack of confidence, no sitting tolerance, maybe even the amount of time they spend on a task. They cannot remain on the task for too long. Yes, they need reminders. They sometimes end up disturbing the others, not active because they are lost. They're somewhere else, easily bored. Lack of restless, dislike the subject. Yes, these are some very important challenges that children with attention show in the classroom. These are also like, forgetful. They misplace things. It's difficult for them to progress from one task to the other. So they need that kind of preparation. They are used to structure. Maybe they get distracted too often. They're restless, they're anxious. They end up being rude. They may not follow instructions. Yes, these are some ways in which attention challenges can be seen in the classroom. Now, towards the fifth major area where we see children struggling is behavior. I'm sure as teachers, as educators, you might have come across behavioral related challenges in classroom. Can we highlight a little that? Yes, too much of fighting, in fact, getting into arguments, also physically getting into fights, not following instruction, telling lies, bullying, not using the right word, abusive language. Yes, not coming prepared for the classroom, disturbing everyone, back answering, cheating. I see so many ways in which children are struggling when it comes to behavior, tantrums, cleanliness, laziness, disinterested, distracted, lateness. Yes, it does affect the structure of the classroom. They're not prepared, they come late, absenteeism, crying for silly things, acting out, not know how to express, so not using the right way, complaints. It is so good to see you participants giving so many examples. This makes the concept even more clearer for all of us that there can be multiple ways in which children can show behavior concerns, attention related concerns. And again, like I said, even when it comes to attention and behavior, there can be multiple reasons, social circumstances, academic performance, or even special needs. So it's important to know the reason. Only then can we think of the right intervention, right? So that's about the way these challenges are reflected in the classroom. Again, it's important to remind ourselves that it's not just low IQ, maybe laziness, indiscipline, or disinterest. Children have many other reasons why they're not doing well when it comes to academics, or they might not be showing the right behavior. Now, let me open this question for all you participants. Now that we know these challenges, do you think our children somewhere know what exactly their challenge is? Anyone who has academic concern or behavior problem, do you think they know why are they having that problem? Yeah, thank you. Yes, we teachers do understand. No, a child wouldn't know. Let's imagine Jenny here. Okay. Say she is a child who often looks out of the window during the class. Okay. She struggles to finish her work on time and is also absent minded. She forgets the instructions that are given, she forgets homework and everything. Now, say if you are the teacher and if you ask Jenny, why are you not able to do it? Would she know? Like you all rightly pointed out, no, Jenny wouldn't know the reason. It's like you go to the doctor when you unwell, and the doctor is asking you, why are you unwell? Right? So the reason the learning here is that we caregivers, professionals, educators, we are similar to doctor. We are in a position, we are skilled enough to identify those specific challenges that a student might be going through. And we need to identify and address it as early as possible. Because if we are unable to, for some reason, if we don't identify, we don't do anything about it, these challenges, which might be small today, will snowball into bigger challenges for that student. The child will have to actually suffer throughout the learning journey and even later in life because of this. We don't want that. That's the reason we are here. Today, it's possible to help these children because we have a lot of resources available today. It's also possible because of educators like you who are keen, who are curious to know new ways, upskill yourselves, and every day make a difference in their lives. Educators like you can inspire children, help them dream big, and achieve their goals. That's what we are for as teachers here, as caregivers. There are many ways in which you can actually solve these challenges. Like I said, there are resources. You are putting that amount of time and energy into it. It's important to do it the right way. And to do that, we should upskill ourselves. We should try and collaborate with others, learn from their learning, seek their support. And that's what our next part of the webinar is about today. Let's understand how can upskilling help. Now, before that, we do understand that teachers play a major role, a life-changing role in a student's life, right? Now, because we know that, it's even more important to know what's a teacher's world like. Let's understand some of the challenges that a teacher faces while she's trying to make this happen for every student in her classroom. Now, a teacher is expected to teach, right? Now, when she is trying to teach, she has different needs among children in her classroom. Some may have writing issues, they need her support there. Some may have reading related concerns, they may want her to help there. Some may be facing numeracy related challenges. She also is supposed to consider them when she's teaching. Also, when a teacher is teaching, the ideal thing is to focus on syllabus and complete it. Now, she isn't able to do that at the pace at which she's supposed to. Why? It's because she has different learning levels in the classroom. One set of children here understand what she's teaching very quickly, fast. So they are eager to know more. They want her to do more. But at the same time, you have a set of students there who've understood the concept maybe, but need more practice to build that skill, to learn that concept. Another handful children here are below 2 or 3 levels when it comes to the grade that they are in. They don't understand the concepts, they don't know what's happening because they don't even know the previous concepts. This leads to concept gaps. They are not learning. Now, also the same teacher, while she's trying to teach, she needs to make sure that her class is productive. But there is a lot of challenge there. There are children who, finish their work fast. They tend to disturb the other children. One set of children are just not paying attention. They are distracted and they're distracting the others too. At the same time, you have children who are not interested. They are just not following teacher. So imagine the variety, the kind of children that a teacher has. Now, with that, a lot of effort goes into planning. While she's planning, she needs to consider the homework. She needs to consider assessments, assignments that cater to the level of the child. So it is something that she needs to spend a lot of time on. Also, what we see is that she needs to handhold parents here. Parents expect the teacher to guide them. Now it's not simple there again. Why? Because she has different parents. She has parents who have different aspirations, different goals. They come from a different mindset and they also play a different role. Some are involved, some are not. Even their abilities, their skill set is so different. So, see, it adds to so much that a teacher needs to do. Sometimes when you think about all this, I'm sure it's discouraging. Is it? Sometimes do we feel as caregivers, teachers, that is it even theoretically possible to handhold, to do so much as a teacher in the classroom, before the classroom, after the classroom? Yes, it is difficult, right? But then that's why we need to upscale. We need to know the right things. We need to know what's happening so that we can support these children in the right way. There are many research which are continuously being done. We have a lot of framework that we could refer to. We can upscale ourselves on these frameworks and systematically approach the challenges. For example, you have the RTI, which is right to interventions level of support framework. It talks about how can you group children and provide them with the right amount of support that they need. You have teaching at the right level, which guides how should you know the level of the students in the classroom, accordingly have your lessons planned. Also, there is assessment informed instruction, which guides on how can continuous assessment help you by modifying your instructions accordingly in the classroom. There are beautiful frameworks like Danielson framework, Hoover Dempsey, Sandler framework, dual capacity framework that work towards the other stakeholders. What role can they play? How can we enhance the team, the partnership, and make them as equal contributors here? So it's important to upskill, know about these frameworks. They will ideally guide you. As responsible educators like you all are here today to learn, to upskill and make a difference in your students' life, right? Now, when it comes to upskill, there is, it's beautifully, you need to understand this. For example, when you attend a training program like you're doing one, you get to know new concepts, you can apply them, learn more about them. You can also request your school or the management to help you with certain programs in areas that you are finding difficult. If it's behavior, if it's academic, if it's dealing with parents, you can have various on job training programs for that. As teachers, we just discussed that there is multiple things that you're doing, many things that you're doing. Let's focus on everything with the intention of getting better 1% in that particular area. So you can get 1% better in creating lesson plans, 1% better in managing your class discipline, assigning homework. So that should be that focus that you should have and you should work towards. Also, when it's come to tracking your own progress, it is important to know what's the right indicator. There are multiple indicators, but sadly, what we mostly do is see a child's mark and then decide upon the performance of a teacher. Rather, if we see the right indicators, for example, if there is high class participation in a teacher's class, it does talk about the amount of effort the teacher is putting. It is a good way to track how involved the children are. If there are low discipline issues in a classroom, which again means that maybe the counseling is working, maybe the teacher strategy is working, because of which now the concerns have gone down. Also, if there is an increase in attendance, for example, it does talk about the children's interest. It talks about that the children want to come and learn in the classroom. So it's important to know how can you track your own progress through various indicators which can guide you on what should be your area of improvement and where you're doing well. Now you can have different topics, for example, different areas where you could upskill yourself. Like I said, how can you as teachers build beautiful rapport with students? How can you provide them with confidence? How can you give them assistance? How could you, have various ways of managing the learning gaps in the classroom? Positive discipline, webinars on maybe attention related challenges in the classrooms. And most importantly, how can you collaborate with parents effectively? There are many topics. You have to know the right area where you're struggling and then maybe try and learn a little more there. For example, let's discuss a little more in detail. How can you teachers, maybe through upskill, learn to provide assistance and support to students of varying needs in the same classroom? We did talk about this, of course, in just some time back, which is the RTI's level of support framework. So you see this the structure here. It talks about it is a three-tiered approach, well-researched approach. It helps schools and teachers in identifying who are the children who need support, and not just that, also what is the level of support that they need. Let me take you a little more, tell you a little more about this. It not just helps in identifying the challenges, but also providing intervention. So, as per this level of framework, at the lowest level, which is tier one, level one, we have children who have, say, mild concerns. So, basically, their academic or behavior challenges are very mild, and they, in the classroom, through universal instructions, can be provided the support that they need. It just doesn't benefit them, the ones who have mild challenges. In fact, it benefits the entire classroom. So you, through your behavior techniques and change and certain changes in your the way you conduct your classes, your lesson plans, your teaching material, you can definitely support children with academic and behavior challenges. Now, when we move one level up, which is level two, tier two. Now, here you can think of children in your classroom who have moderate challenges. So, these are those children who need support for a shorter period of time. They need targeted help. This can be provided one on one or in smaller groups inside the classroom. You can learn, upskill yourself on what strategies can work in the classroom in order to help these children who have moderate amount of challenges. Now, when we talk about the third level, which is tier three, intense, these are children whose academic and behavior challenges are very visible. You can see them struggling, you can see their behavior challenges, also their academic concerns. Now, these can be children who also have underlying conditions sometimes. So, these children need tailored support. They need one on one support. So, you will provide them with certain accommodations and modifications, maybe in the classroom. You will also reach out to them with certain different strategies. At the same time, you'll team up with all other important stakeholders and provide them with the right amount of support that they need. Dear teachers, dear educators, This is a framework that helps you identify, group, and provide intervention. It's a beautiful approach that we could learn and use in our own classrooms. Now that you've understood how skill can help, I'm sure you must be thinking, but I maybe can control things happening in my classroom. What about the home? What about the support that the child needs outside? Yes, it's important to provide holistic support. It's important to get know what's happening at home with other experts, with other important stakeholders, and also update our the way we teach our strategies accordingly. It's important to know, remember that there's a lot that needs to be done. You are doing, you can do, but it's important to collaborate with others also, particularly for children who need additional support. For them, we need to, so that we can provide them with the right help. That's the focus of the third section today. We will now understand how can we collaborate with other important stakeholders. You must be thinking, we've mentioned so many times about the other important stakeholders, right? So, who are they? Now, when we say stakeholders, we mean people who are there inside the school, which are the internal stakeholders, and people who are outside the school, who are the external stakeholders, right? So, internal stakeholders is school management, subject teachers, remedial teachers, counselors, special educators. Sometimes you as a teacher, if you don't have, say, counselor or remedial teacher in school, you also play multiple roles. You can be a remedial teacher for someone else's classes. So it's important to know your roles and also know who are the other important stakeholders. Now, external stakeholders are parents, the most important stakeholder, and then tuition teachers, other experts, say a physiotherapist, occupational therapist, speech therapist, even coaches, because they also deal with the child and they know a lot about the child, their challenges, their strength, especially. Now, how can you collaborate with them? It is important to share your observations, share whatever is your assessment done. It is important to know what's happening at the other end also. Now, once you share, you should seek the valuable feedback. Know what the person has to say. You can give them some suggestions which can be incorporated. Have frequent meetings so that you know what's happening. Because this journey takes time. It is slow but a steady thing. So it's important to frequently update, communicate what your goals are, what your expectations are, so that it is aligned with the strength, the challenges of the child. It is something which is doable with a process which is being followed. Also, it's important to share what's working for you, what acts as a hurdle, because when you do that, you do fasten your process. You are not stuck like, okay, I'm trying this strategy, isn't working, what then? You can consider seeking support from them. Also, how can you do that? Okay, so there are like the importance of collaboration. Now that you've learned how, it helps you with communication and it also guides you to successful strategies. Now, imagine you have a subject teacher who tried a different strategy. And if the subject teacher updates you on time, you save so much time, right? And you can also accommodate similar strategy in your classroom. For example, brain break. The teacher tried. She said that yes, it brings back the attention and focus of a lot of children and they enjoy. You must also try this. So she's given you an hands on tip that you could use. A parent who is there with the child 80% of the time, the parent can also look into certain observations and share them with you. Maybe the parent can tell you what works with the child, especially if a child is stubborn or maybe if the child has underlying conditions. It is important to know these small facts from these meaningful stakeholders will add to your observations, your knowing the child better. Now, another important, reason why we must collaborate is that it helps with extended learning and it distributes the pressure. So, say you as a teacher have identified in your classroom that you have a lot of children who are struggling with phonics. You can group them, you've identified them. Maybe now you can hand over with your observations the children to special educator where she can continue, start to work on phonics. At the same time, you will learn certain strategies that could be done in the classroom for all those children who have poor phonics skills. So, this is extended learning and distribution of workload pressure. Also, for example, you know that there are children who don't have grade appropriate concepts that they should know. For advanced learning, a remedial teacher here can help you by covering up the basics so that the child is getting ready with the basics. And over a period of time, the child can start relating to the concepts that you're teaching and learn. The learning should happen. Another important reason why we must collaborate is awareness of holistic progress. See, a child may be poor academically, but what if this same child is amazing when it comes to sport? Of course, it adds a lot of strategies to your sessions. If you know a child is interested in sports, you could use that as a reinforcement, a reward. You know that the child will be interested and accordingly plan your activities in the interest area of child. Now, if you think a child who say had behavioral challenges went to counselor because you insisted, you requested, the counselor put an effort there, and now you can see that the child is cooperating, the child is participating. So, see, it is important to know how different stakeholders can come in picture and help each one of us so that we can provide that support that's needed. This part of the topic is about how parents need to be focused on. They are the most underutilized resource when it comes to education. We as educators, care providers know that they act as a bridge. They can be a bridge for all other important stakeholders. They can connect you well with them. Now, when it comes to role of parents, it is important to understand the intense the challenges, that very critical is the parent support. Say you have children with moderate amount of challenges, the support that they need from parents is critical then. And you have children with mild challenges, then even moderate support from the parent would do. So the more the challenge, the more the support we need from the parent. Their role is that critical there. Let me put this across as an example. Say you are a teacher, okay, and you have a parent who is ready to help, a parent who is ready to engage with you. All right. Now, because in the PTM, you met the parent and you actually put this to the parent that the child has writing challenges in a very good way. You highlighted the strength of the child and you also suggested some strategies. This parent understood the problem well and then started doing something about this. The parent used your strategies. Now, when you meet the parent in the PTM, the parent is like, I am using the strategy, and you can see this. You can see yourself as a teacher, the improvement in the classroom. So, see how good parent engagement helps. Now, when it comes to poor parent engagement, especially I'm talking about children who have intense challenges. So, say you have a child again with writing challenges in your classroom. Now, if the parent isn't engaged, the parent doesn't understand what the concern is on time. The parent might think, okay, the child is facing problem for some time. Maybe over a period of time, the child will get better with practice and with higher grades. But then you know that this is a concern and it needs immediate early intervention. Now, because the child isn't understanding this, the child isn't getting any support from the parent, and no progress is seen over a period of time. So, in a way, it won't be wrong if I say that good parent engagement actually acts as an accelerator. It speeds up your process, it speeds up the goals that you have as teachers. On the contrary, on the other side, poor parent engagement does act as a speed breaker, a hump. It acts as a hurdle. It does not let you complete your goals as educators. So, it's important to touch upon the parents in the right way. We need to look for various ways in which we can make this bond stronger. For that, we may have to look into their profiles, know a little more about them so that we can connect with them in the right way. It's important to have various touch points, various opportunities that you could look for, various ways in which you could improve this parent engagement. Most importantly, it's good to know what mindset and expectations parents have. Some may send their children with low expectations to school. It may act as a hurdle for the child, and you can maybe know that, correct that at the right time. through your counseling, through your guidance. Also, there are some parents who come with high expectations, not knowing the strength or the challenge of their own children. So it's important there to, as a bridge, tell them that your expectations may not be valid because the child has these concerns. We need to work on that and then think about the expectation. There are various ways to manage parental feedback. You must get practice little more here and then learn that, and all other beautiful ways in which you can effectively collaborate with parents. So, with that, we come towards the end of this session. Today, we did see what are some of the challenges that children face in areas which is academic and behavior. We also understood that everyone can make a huge difference in the students' journey in their lives by upskilling ourselves so that we can provide the right kind of support that they need. And most importantly, collaborating with others is an important technique, a strategy. We must learn, get better at it, improve parent engagement, and then see if we can provide children with the right support. We've learned a lot. Now, with that, also, how will you upskill yourself as teachers and help children better? On that, we have a program. The details of this will be shared by our host. Do listen and see if it's meaningful for you. Thank you for being lovely audience here today and participating throughout the session.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Smita, for such an insightful session. I'm sure all of us have learned so much from what you have delivered today. And thank you, dear audience, for being such active participants throughout. I will now be taking you all through the certificate course in collaboration with Singapore University. The link for the same is being shared in the chat box. So please click on it and we can go through the landing page together. So, Ability has collaborated with the Singapore University of Social Sciences to bring you this lovely, amazing certificate course to empower your teaching to manage academic challenges in primary school students. So, if you're a primary teacher, primary school teacher anywhere in the world, this course will be relevant for you. You can unlock strategies to build strong foundations for your students. You can click on any of the buttons that are available to you and it will lead you to our registration form. The most important thing is that this course is available to you at a very special value of only rupees 2,678 Indian rupees or 32 US dollars. So you can pay through whichever mode you find convenient. This early bird discount is available only for a short duration. So avail of it as soon as possible and make the most of this unique opportunity. I'll take you through some of our course features. We have 4 hours of live engaging video content. And in addition to that, we have concept videos, articles, quizzes, and case studies that will help you to enhance your learning. This course can be completed within 6 months from the first date that you log in, and you will receive a certificate by the Singapore University of Social Sciences as well as Ability. The certificate will be jointly issued, and there will also be graded assignments and quizzes after each module so that you can enhance and increase your learning. What you will learn from this program, you will discover the practical abilities like identifying students with academic challenges. You will be able to plan classroom interventions to address academic success. And you will learn to implement student education support plans and individualized plans to your students. You will understand the different considerations in working collaboratively with parents and children and also external stakeholders to address these academic challenges that students face. And like Mrs. Smita rightly pointed out in today's session, how important collaboration is, this course will show you how you can do that. You can go through the course description and course outline. We have buttons here which will break down each and every module that is going to be covered in this 4-hour course. Whether you're a primary school teacher or an aspiring primary school teacher, counselor, special educator, academic coordinator, school leader, or a para educator, this course will be very meaningful for you. So please go and register now. Our course instructor for this course is Dr. Eunice, who has immense experience. Dr. Eunice is in this field of special needs for 15 years, and she is a very qualified instructor, and you will be learning from her if you sign up for this course. This is a preview of the certificate that you will receive by the Singapore University in collaboration with Ability on course completion. Each certificate will have a unique certificate ID that will be used for authentication purposes. A little about the Singapore University of Social Sciences. This is a university that has a rich heritage and it inspires lifelong education and transforming the society through the social sciences. The Singapore University focuses on the 3 H's that's of education philosophy: head, heart, and habit. You can read up more about them by clicking on the link that we have shared with you. And ability, we have already spoken about what we do at the start of this webinar. You can also go through the frequently asked questions that we have just by clicking on the plus button. You have all the details available for you. So what are you waiting for? This is your opportunity to upskill. Just click on the register button and you will be redirected to our form. You can fill in all your details and just continue to payment. All right. Thank you so much for being such amazing audiences. You can click on the link in the chat box to sign up for this course. And now we will move to the most awaited segment of today's session, that is the question and answer segment. But before that, I would like to encourage all of you to kindly fill in the feedback form for today's session. Your feedback is very important to us so that we can learn from you and improve your experience with us in the future. So now we move to the question and answer segment. Mrs. Smita, I will go ahead and ask you the questions that we have received in the chat box. So one question that we've got is, how can we make parents aware that they need to give their children the time?
Yeah, it's such a straightforward question. It is about the time that a parent should give to their child. Some parents do it religiously, continuously. Some do it, but maybe they aren't giving that quality time. And some just do it today out of guilt, right? Why? It's because we are so busy. This generation parents, we are multitasking. We have a lot many things to do. So sometimes we don't understand, or maybe instead of time, we try and use other strategies and techniques to bond with our children. When we talk about time, what we mean is quality constructive time. So this time that a parent gives to the child adds to various positive benefits for the child. So, as teachers, you can put this across to parents in ways that they understand. So, once you've identified the profile of the parent, all right, so you may want to put this to working parents in a different way. Parents who are home, who are skilled, may not be doing that great. You can put this to them in a different way. That's why I said connecting with parents is only when you know a little more about them, you know their profile, only then can you think of the right way. Otherwise it's like you are putting efforts but the parents don't understand because of the language that we speak may not be something that a parent understands or maybe something that they want to hear. So for working parents, for example, we need to put this across to them that the time that they would want to spend with the child should help the child be independent, of course, also make their bond with the child strong, right? So you can maybe think of those constructive activities that a parent could do back home. They can maybe build those important rituals, routines, like a morning routine, a late evening routine, where they know that those 10 minutes are only for the child. The parent can involve themselves by doing a small activity like a building up a hobby. They can do music together, they could draw together, art and craft together, maybe cooking together, gardening together. So it is constructive time that we are talking about. The parent should bond with the child. And if the child is learning something in that bonding period, excellent, nothing like it. So you would want to kind of, not insist too much on the number of hours, but maybe 10 minutes of quality time that a working parent would give to the child. Now, when it comes to parents who aren't sure, who feel they are not skilled enough, maybe they feel spending time with the child is different. Like they may be providing the child with all essentials, getting the child ready to school, sending the child, but then somewhere they aren't preparing uh, the child or investing certain important role that they should be, like being the resourceful parent, providing various platforms and opportunities where the child could excel. This needs to be in all areas, not just academics. So, socially, how can they make their child better? When it comes to their behavior, how can a parent spend time and get better? So, it is just waking up, the parent in the right way by identifying what is the kind of support that you're looking forward to. Sometimes a parent may say, yeah, ma'am, I'm with the child for good 2 hours every day in the evening. But then maybe the parent is on the phone watching TV or maybe just talking to someone else. The parent is not actually with the child. So it needs to be put in the right way. Knowing the profile of the parent would help you. And then you can think, what is it that the child needs? Is it behavior support, academic support, skill building, social needs? Then accordingly, you can suggest what kind of time should a parent invest so that the child benefits out of it.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that answer on how teachers can help parents build that bond with their child through different activities and focusing more on the quality of time rather than the quantity of time spent. Moving on to our next question: what strategies can teachers use to address academic and behavioral challenges in the classroom?
Many strategies that a teacher could think of. One, it is a structured, way. So first, you need to identify what is the problem. Is academic problem standing alone on its own, or is it behavioral concerns that's adding to academic problem? When you make your observations, you get a clarity on that. Now, say you've identified the concern. You know the child has reading concerns in the classroom. Okay, for example. Now, here, your role is to first know the right reason. You've identified what can be the reason behind this reading problem. Is it because the child has no exposure? The child has not built on important pre reading skills? Is it that the child is not reading enough? Practice is missing. So, skill building isn't happening. Or genuinely, the child has reading related concerns. These are certain ways to look at the problem. Now, once you've identified the right reason, you would go ahead and think of strategies. So, if it is exposure, it is like, pre reading skills that the child hasn't built, then you would want to suggest certain things back home. You in classroom can also do that. You can maybe introduce flashcards, build important words, cite words, word families, have a lot of pictures, post, other resources. It can be visual, audio resources. It can be certain things that a child needs to listen maybe for 5 days, maybe watch just for 5 minutes. So in these ways, you will think of strategies. It depends on the reason. So if underlying reason, it is the child has dyslexia, for example, then we do know that we need to support this child in a different way. Now here we will, along with a special educator, maybe handhold the child, build on those important skills which are needed to read. We will work on phonemic awareness, phonetic skills, blending, segmenting, all of that step by step. See where the child needs scaffolded support in the classroom, and then maybe you will see that the child is also participating and learning something. So this was about the academic concerns. Similarly, we have to look into the math related concerns, writing related concerns. Also, when it comes to behavior, very important it is to have your observations right. What is the kind of behavior, the frequency of the behavior? Is the child showing, it's affecting severely? It is affecting their classroom, the rapport the child has with other students, maybe with parents. There are multiple reasons even for behavioral challenges. Sometimes it's environment, sometimes it's like, the child is imitating someone, Sometimes it's just for getting your attention. Even emotional condition of a child, if they don't know how to manage their emotions, it comes out in form of behavioral concerns in the classroom. So once you are there in the classroom, it's important for you to know what observations you have, know the right reason even behind these behavioral challenges, and then think of strategy. So if it's emotional support, of course, with the help of parent, counselor, you could maybe do that. You can also provide that kind of environment, have certain corners, maybe have like a 2 minute or a 5 minute activity where you can check on their emotions and then proceed with your classroom teaching. So, in these ways, you teachers can look a little more meaningfully into the concerns and definitely look for various strategies. But knowing the right reason is the key.
Thank you, ma'am, for briefly summarizing all of those strategies for us. I can see that a lot of you are facing an issue with the feedback link. Our team is trying to fix the problem for you. So please be patient. We apologize for this technical error and we will get back to you as soon as we have rectified it. In the interest of time, ma'am, we'll be taking our last two questions. So, our next question is, how can we engage students in the classroom without using technology? We can see that a lot of children are just addicted to their mobile phones and they're really good with using their phones and all electronic devices. But when it comes to actually doing on ground work in the classroom, they're not as engaged.
Beautiful observation. And I'm so glad that you teachers kind of, are putting the slightest effort that you can, even in this area. You do know that children are okay when it comes to gadgets. Maybe technology can bring back their attention or focus, but without the support of technology, the gadgets, the children are lost. They are not able to focus, they are not able to pay attention, and sometimes not even perform. Like you must have heard a parent saying that, oh, ma'am, my child has amazing focus. My child remembers every single episode of whatever the child is watching. Maybe my child remembers, like, the scenes from movies, the songs, the lyrics. But when it comes to studies, academics, the child is lost. The child doesn't remember concepts, numbers, tables. Now, what's happening is the technology has various elements, right? The way it is made, it leads to a lot of stimulation. It gives you visual, audio stimulations that keeps your focus. It's easier. But when it comes to paying attention in the classroom, we are, the way we've trained our mind is that you need that amount of stimulation to pay focus. So, coming back to your question, you've identified that this is a challenge. Now, what you teachers can do about it? All right. You can maybe slowly wean off the use of technology. But yeah, we are now using a lot of presentations, a lot of videos in our own lesson plans so that the concepts get a little more clear. And also we have different kind of learners in our classroom, right? We have visual learners, learners who listen and learn, children who can kinesthetically engage. They need to do something to learn. So we need to also consider the kind of learners we have in our classroom. So when you conduct a lesson which has variety, you've incorporated various elements. You have hands-on activities, you have experiments, you have debates, discussions, and you also have writing, reading. You do know that there are multiple ways in which you are engaging your students and multiple ways in which you are trying to deliver the concept, do the teaching. That's a very good technique. So if you can maybe then have more of hands-on activities or these kind of projects, because what happens is even there a child's mind gets easily involved. It's because they have to do, there are less chances of getting distracted. So you can think of other techniques like these instead of video and audio. But yeah, you will have variety of learners, so do consider the kind of classroom you have, the kind of learners you have, and then plan your lessons accordingly.
So rightly said, ma'am. And this is a really nice way to just minimize the distractions and keep the child engaged. Moving on to our last question for this session. How can we address hyperactive behaviors in the class?
Okay. So yeah. children these days, students these days in the classrooms are high on energy, right? Now, multiple reasons again behind that. What we are seeing is that in the training period, when the child's mind is young, the kind of stimulation given back home is something where a child constantly is doing something. One reason is that, so it's more of practice. Okay. I am used to kind of, I will not say running around, but yeah, I am used to having too much of distraction. I have too many things. So I am busy trying to do everything. Now, also with that, the food habits. So what we're seeing is there is research, there are multiple research, in fact, that contribute to children eating a kind of food that leads to high on energy in the other settings, wherever the child is. So that's one way of looking and maybe trying to monitor, control from that end. Now, coming to classroom, when you already know you have a lot of children who are hyper, who are high on energy, you would want to plan your lessons, your activities, your breaks in a way that can provide them with some amount of stimulation, but at the same time, maybe break, calm them down so that they don't get too aggressive. So you may want an activity as a break if it's too much of listening and focus, or the other way. Say they've just come back from play. They've come back from a games period and they all are restless. They are like, with so much energy because they've just played. You can think of a different activity that can slow them down, calm them down. Maybe you can have a 2 minute breathing exercise. Maybe you can have like, listen and follow kind of an activity. Do the opposite where they have to focus, listen. So now in this process, they tend to kind of, slow down. So mix of things. When you plan your lessons for children who are high on energy, it's important to consider all this. If you have like a engaging lesson, you can maybe then give a 2 minute or a 5 minute activity where they have to just be with themselves and maybe try and do it. Connecting with the parent and also making sure that back home also there are a lot of things that could be done. A child can be asked not to do anything maybe for 30 minutes in a day where the child can just relax. Also other beautiful things like asking sports to come into a child's life. So when they play, the energy is invested into something which is more meaningful, and this calms them down. I know a lot of parents who especially kind of I tell them that the child should go for an early morning sport. The child goes, plays, vents out all that energy, and then maybe when the child comes back to the classroom, the child is calm. It can be the other way. After your school, the child can go for a sport where the child can channelize the energy in a meaningful way. So these are certain ways in which we can talk about extra energy that children have. Maybe it's coming from wrong reasons, like I said, food habits, maybe the kind of activity the child is practicing back home. So a little focus there. And in the classroom, you can maybe manage the activity through the strategies that we just discussed.
Absolutely, ma'am. First, trying to identify where the extra energy is coming from and then using strategies to help the children with that. Thank you, ma'am. That brings us to the end of our question and answer segment. And now, dear audience, I would like to introduce you to our next session, which is also by Mrs. Smita Tripathi on the 7th of December. The topic is Enhancing Classroom Potential through NEP's Foundational Literacy and Numeracy. So please join us on the 7th of December. The link for this session, the registration link, will be shared in the chat box. You can click on the link and register for the next session. And with that, we come to an end of today's session. I can see that the feedback link was still being a problem for everyone. We will try to rectify that very soon, and we'll send you the feedback link in the email that you will also get with your certificate. And as for your certificate questions, an email will be sent to all of you through the email ID that you have registered for today's session. And within 3 hours, you can receive the email, click on the link, and download your certificate. And that is a big bye from Team Ability. Thank you all for being such lovely audience and despite our technical issues, still being with us till the end.